Hi, it's Gary Chimes from Lake Washington Sports and Spine, and I got my rehab buddy here. What's your name?
James.
Yeah, James. You know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about joint effusions.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing is with joint effusions is that your joints are like a balloon. And this picture right here is representing what a normal joint looks like. Is it in frame?
Yep.
Okay. So what happens is that if you think about the joint, it has a wall of a certain thickness, and then there's a certain amount of fluid in there. Sometimes for different reasons, the joint can fill up with fluid, and it's often a reaction to too much shear. And when that happens, James, check this out. This balloon goes into like a big, big balloon, but the wall is going to be a certain volume, and in order to maintain that volume, the wall gets really thinned out. And that's going to be what happens when you get a joint effusion.
And then it turns into that, right?
It totally does. So what ends up happening is sometimes you can get like an effusion at the back of your knee, something called a popliteal recess cyst or a Baker's cyst. Now, one of the things that we will sometimes do, James, is I'll stick a needle in here. I'll stick a needle into the cyst and drain the fluid out. And then when it drains, one of the problems is that the wall's already been thinned out. So even though I've taken out a bunch of fluid, you have the thin wall. So a drained cyst is not always the same as the original cyst.
And Dad, can you put a line below it so you know that it's there?
Can I put what?
A line below it so you know it's there.
Well, what we end up doing is we'll sometimes re-image to see if the fluid's fully drained, and sometimes we actually have to drain it multiple times. One of the reasons I bring this up is that sometimes when I have a patient and they have a big cyst and I drain it and they feel great, it's actually going to be really important for me to follow up with it and check on the morphology of the joint space, because that's something where we actually may have to do recurrent drainages or sometimes have to use certain techniques to prevent those drainages from recurring. So the main point I wanted people to learn is that just because we drain a cyst doesn't mean the problem's solved, and we still have to follow up with them. Does that make sense, James?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, buddy.